Just realized my mic was off. Alright, so we're going to be playing some Arena and some Constructed. Just the general basics. I might even just do a quick match here and see what we get, and then I'll hop into the Arena after that. Right now we have this deck that I built last time. It's a pretty straightforward. The main thing, I guess someone's looking for an Arena game right now, so I might just hop into it. The main thing about this deck is that it has a lot of consistency. So we have redundancy like Bounty Hunter, Palace Guard, Deathbringer, all remove a champion when they come into play. And then otherwise, we didn't actually go super heavy into a color. We picked Wild as our primary because we wanted to get Pyrosaur, Smash and Burn, and Draka in there. And we have a lot of direct damage, so we're just trying to close out a game pretty fast here. And then there's some recycles and some basically just pressuring cards, as well as everything else is mainly there for card advantage. So we keep our hand full. We basically just put out these annoying things, and after we get in for a little bit of damage, then we'll finish them off with some direct burn. And of course, we're going to struggle against maybe we don't have a lot of really strong removal, so we're going to have trouble. We do have some removal, I should say, but we're going to have trouble with ambush champions primarily, because all of our removal is baked into these champions that are on turn, like Bounty Hunter here. All right. So we're going first. Mythic Monster is probably one of our best cards in our deck to start with. And aside from that, Bounty Hunter is a fine card, since we don't have that many ways to answer things. And I think Flashfire and Polar Shock are some of the best cards we could have for the off turn, so I'm going to toss the Lessons Learned here. We'll keep the Mythic Monster, the Flashfire, and the Polar Shock. The Bounty Hunter is optional. I think it's good to have some single target answer, so we'll go ahead and keep it. It's kind of debatable what I would want this to be. I think maybe the best thing would be a punishing or an ambush champion. So we'd either want, we don't actually have that many ambush champions here, so we'd want, I probably wouldn't keep Chronicler in my opening hand or Memory Spirit. So actually I don't see a single ambush champion here that I want to keep in my opening hand anyway, so I think that that not mulliganing away the Bounty Hunter is good here. All right, and we're gonna hold on to these two, save the Flashfire for something small that we can remove, and hold on to the Warrior Golem here, because right now, if it were to die, then we wouldn't get to recycle. So it's important that you hold on to this card. You want to at least threaten your opponent. If you get rid of my Warrior Golem, I'll recycle. Plus, keeping it in hand makes us stronger against Knight of Shadows, Thoughtblocker, and Psionic Assault, because if you discard this for any reason, then you'll get to recycle. So if I had, I'll give you another example. If I had a punishing champion in my hand, let's say I had Pyrosaur here, right? If I had Pyrosaur in my hand, I actually probably would have just played Warrior Golem and then passed, just to kind of pressure the opponent's health a little bit. Even though they could remove it, they're not super likely to do so for a free card, so then we could get in for 10 there with the Pyrosaur. But generally, I will start with the 0-cost champion if I have a Punisher, and if I don't, then I'll just lead with my 1-cost slow play, because you want to have a interesting. Well, I'm not sure what the opponent is playing at here. Maybe a Brave Squire? 2 damage. I mean, I'm just going to have to draw 2, basically. I'm going to go ahead and block it. I don't know what they're playing at here, but I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it, because it's pretty much just Brave Squire that would punish me here. Even a Wolfspite would be fine. It would help us out because our Warrior Golem would die to it normally, so it's not the end of the world. And I'm assuming that this is going to get finished off with something that deals 2 damage. So then I'll probably just run out the Polar Shock to draw 2 cards. In general, I prefer 0-cost cards in hand to 1-cost ones if I'm going to have a full hand. And if I draw 2 with the Polar Shock, alright, there's Howl. Yeah, see. Okay, so Flash Fire now will probably be necessary to finish this off. Alright. So I could either kill that and draw a card effectively, because I'd lose 2, gain 2, or I could kill that and deal 6 damage to Ransom. So the question is, would I rather have a card in hand or deal 6? I think I'd rather have the card in hand, so I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 first, in case we get a better answer than the Flash Fire. And we'll go ahead and run this out. Finish that off. Now this is a good example of a time where I can just play the Warrior Golem, although I really want to draw a wild card so that I can establish a Punisher here. Alright, so because I didn't, I could Frantic Digging away the Warrior Golem, and that would cause me to recycle twice. So I think I'm going to do that to get the advantage right now. So I'll discard a card, draw a card, recycle, and then when Warrior Golem goes to your discard pile, I recycle again. So I'll recycle again. I'm going to leave the Frantic Digging because I do have Memory Spirit and Chronicler, and I think that's a very good target to get back. And then we'll go ahead and just play the Raxa here and make the 2 demons. I don't think it's very likely we'll be able to do the deal 2 damage to each opposing champion at all. So that'll basically just put a board presence in play. Frantic Digging Warrior Golem is a great combo because for 0, you get to discard a card and then draw 3. Alright, they're going to match. Probably just play this Priestess Evangeline here. Could wait for the Bounty Hunter. This kind of sets me up for a Sequester play though if I want to make it. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So for example, if the opponent plays a like a Thunderous here, or something I need to answer, like a Avenging Angel, then I'll play the Sequester and return my Recycle champion and their champion to hand. Alright, you're going to recall the Ancient Chant to draw some cards. We're also going to draw some cards. They're not as many. I mean, we'll be drawing 2, but that's effectively a draw 3 when you recall Ancient Chant. So when you recall an Ancient Chant, it goes back to your hand. Then you also draw another card. So you get your hand size increases by 2, which is the same thing as playing a draw 3 from your hand. Alright. Can't recycle. Let's just go ahead and we'll get in for 1. I don't know what I'm going to play though. Nothing in my hand is good to play right now. I might just play this Word of Summoning to make a demon token and then pass. Because it effectively draws a card. Or I could even play this Faithful Pegasus and then attack with it for 2 in the air. I suppose the nice thing about Word of Summoning is I can Faithful Pegasus afterwards if I want to recycle. See if I can find another wild card. So I think we're going to do that. Go ahead and make a demon token here and then pass. Ransom's probably going to start their turn, which is fine. I don't really have a good play to make here. I have a lot of reactive cards. Palace Guard and Bounty Hunter both require a champion in play that I want to banish. So I'm going to just wait on it. There's Darkwood's Apprentice to take out the 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and Faithful Pegasus here. See if I can't find another wild card. That might change things. Yeah, it looks like we did not. So we're just going to go ahead and use the palace card here, mainly because the bounty hunter has a very small defense, and you don't want all of your champions to have a very small defense if you can help it. So if I found another wild card there, I'd probably play the Draka and just see if I could get him for 9. But this is good too. That way then I could just take the 7, and then the Draka is a much bigger threat than the 7 in the air. Because ideally we want to find a target for the bounty hunter and the palace guard that are good targets. That's an okay target. Generally a 7/7 airborne is it's a big enough threat that you need to deal with it, but it dies to anything medium size, so you can get rid of it with the Fires of Rebellion, for example, and draw a card. Even a Wyvern, that's a new card from Duels. Alright, Kong's going to come out. So what we're going to do here is actually erase our own Pegasus. The reason is we get to draw 3 here. We're going to draw 2 from the erase, and then we can recycle with Pegasus again later. Right, and that's going to be a perfect bounty hunter target. So I'm just going to play the second wind right now because I have 3 in my discard pile, so I can still recycle afterwards. But this way I'm going to leave the erase in case I draw lessons learned here. I guess I mulliganed it away, so I'm not going to draw it soon. Yeah, that's why, just in case my discard pile gets entirely banished. So if we hadn't played the second wind there, if I just passed back to my turn, then I would lose all 3, and then I would not get to recycle. So here they're playing the Heinous Feast because they know I have that Faithful Pegasus in hand, and I'll be able to recycle with it. But it's kind of a desperate play because they're not getting any value out of this Heinous Feast. For example, I really want a Pyrosaur here, but it's very risky for me to do so because what happens is the Kong blocks it, and then I can Lash to trade, but if they have any answer for the Pyrosaur, then I don't trade. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to banish here and then pass. I mean, I suppose I'll even attack for 4 because I have the Lash, and I would prefer to play a card from my hand for value here. See if they go for the double block. If they play a good card to make another human token. I'm just doing this because I want my opponent to play something. Yeah, go for the double block here with 2 human tokens. That's looking good. So now, oh, just a single block. Okay, so I could play the Lash for 7 damage, which is pretty reasonable. 7 damage for 0. It will make it so I can't use these other abilities, but also there's a high chance I play Chronicler next turn. We'll just go ahead and get him for 7 here. We're basically just playing this as a Fires of Rebellion to them. Alright. And if I hit for 4 here, then it threatens to deal 4 again next turn, so they would be at 11. And then 2 more, they'd be at 9. So they would die to a little devil hitting twice, plus Faithful Pegasus with Draka. I think it's worth doing this here just to threaten lethal next turn. Even though you don't necessarily plan on achieving lethal, sometimes it's good just to set yourself up so that the opponent, if they don't play around it, you can just win if they try and get greedy. But oh, Knight of Glory here, just going to try and attack me for a lot of damage. Hopefully they buff the human token. Looks like they did. Plague's going to be very good here if I want to do that. Let's see. I could even do something like a Hasty Retreat, Chronicler, Hasty Retreat. So right now Plague saves me 10 health, or I could play this Chronicler, and it could return the Lash to hand, and then I can haste retreat the Knight of Glory when it attacks, and then I'll take 11, which is fine. I think I'm going to do that play. It also sets me up to actually play the Draka next turn, so I get that lethal potential. Alright, let's go for it. So Hasty Retreat says you return an attacking champion to his owner's hand, but if it's blocked, they don't draw a card. If it's not blocked, they do draw a card. So basically you always want to block the attack if you can. Well, the one card they get is a pretty big deal. You can also use it on your own attacking champions, but you never draw the card if you do. So sometimes I'll use this, I'll attack with a Pegasus, for example, and then, oh, they play an Airborne Ambush. After blocks, I'll hit a Hasty Retreat, replay my Pegasus, recycle again, and then attack with it again. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get in the air first. Right now we have 4, we could deal 4 to them with Pyrosaur, and Flood of Fire deals 7 to them. They don't have an off-turn board clear, or they would have played it, I think. In either case, I will force them to answer this before I play my Pyrosaur, or Draka. Like the obvious play here, yeah, alright. Oh, interesting, they're not going for the clear. This ended up being very, very good for me, because now I can just play the Pyrosaur, clear all of these, and then that's lethal swing again. And if the Pyrosaur gets removed by something for 0, 7 is still lethal, because the Pyrosaur will just be... I probably didn't mean to Battle Pass there, but it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and reveal not the Flood of Fire, because the Flood of Fire deals damage to them directly. So whenever you have information about how many turns your opponent has left, you don't want to reveal that. In this case, this deals 7 to them, so it would tell them, oh, next turn is my last turn, if they can somehow deal with this Chronicler. If they don't know about this Flood of Fire, they'll probably play as though it isn't, because they have to. And that's the game. I think this deck's actually very good. It's a Arena deck here. Alright. Just go ahead and quick match it again with our Dead Dinos deck. Could be any format. This is the deck I was playing last stream. I think I played a single game with it. Basically, what we're doing is we are... I'm not even sure if I did play a game with this. I think I did. The Evil and Wild are the main alignments for this deck. So we're actually doing a very greedy split here. And what I mean by that is, you know, we have 24 out of 60 cards Wild, so that means you're going to see one a little more than 1 out of 3 cards. And in order to hit your loyalty 2s, you need to have 3 Wild cards in your hand. The one that you're playing, and then 2 others. So we have Raging T-Rex and Pyrosaur and Striking Dragon, and to a lesser degree 1 copy of Smash and Burn. So that's a total of 10 cards that really want to have your other 2 wild cards in hand. 9 if you don't count the Smash and Burn. In order to achieve that, we are doing things which bring your cards back. So if you return a Champion of Final Task or Invoke Pact, you can use your Evil card as one of those wild cards, because you'll Final Task your Raging T-Rex out of your discard pile with 2 other wild cards in your hand, and then you'll get to draw 2. What's very important about this deck is that you are intentionally not playing things like Misguided Herald, or you're trying to set yourself up basically in order to have your loyalty 2s for both Evil and Wild whenever possible. But it looks like we're in beginner mode, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep. And I'm going first here, so I'm probably just going to play this this champion here that has Tribute Draw a card. So I'll get a thing out and draw a card. I mean, honestly, I could probably pass here, but I'm not gonna take this one too seriously. Basically, what you can do is just pass if your hand is very reactive. So my hand right here is pretty reactive. This is an ambush champion, so I can play it on my opponent's turn. I think in this scenario, I probably want to play something. I could either play this champion right here and get out a 5/8 airborne ambush, or I can draw 2 and gain 4 health. Now, I definitely want to play one of those two because gaining 12 health here is not a good idea, and Canopy Ranger, you want to save this. This is a combat trick, so you want to use this defensively, or when one of your champions is going to lose a fight, you'll use it to buff your own champion. Anyway, so the reason that I made that play there is because it's difficult to match. So with an off-turn gold, it's hard to be better than a 5/8 airborne that draws a card. And they played a 9/8 airborne, which is actually a very good. It's a very good counter here because it's airborne, so it can block if you really wanted to. But right now it can attack for 9, and I can't play random ground things to block it, like human tokens. Alright, they're just going to slam down a Rampaging Cyclops here. And probably attack me with the biggest thing. Alright, so what we'll do is just make a thing that can block it. And that'll block it. In general, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get information and also just force your opponent to react first. So I guess the phrase play your hand or reveal your hand comes to mind, where because my opponent just spent their gold to play Rampaging Cyclops there, I was very free to play this draw 2 that makes a blocker, because I know I'm not going to be punished by something like a Rampaging Cyclops. So now I'm just going to go ahead and attack with this. I can make my champions bigger after blocks, so if this blocks here, then I can play the Shock Trooper. That'll probably be my play. Looks like that's going to go on top of my deck. Alright, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and make this 10-6. We do need to stop this attack, but we can stop it with Warp Priest. So I'm going to make this 10-6 here, just as a blitz 10-6. So it's like a mini Rampaging Cyclops. Opponent's gold spent, so they're probably not going to get a lot of value. Hi, Pix. No problem. So I'm playing this as a mini Punisher, but here it'll probably just get blocked by this Lightning Mage. Yeah, which is fine. We're using it as a 6/6 for our gold that removes that Lightning Mage from play. And I'll play this War Priest as well, so that'll give me some blockers for this Rampaging Cyclops. I will be taking damage from the Aerial Assassin, but I am very likely going to play a Subjugate here, which will banish everything with 7 or more defense, which is perfect because we have just set up the board in a way that all of my champions have less than 7 defense, and all of their champions have 7 or more defense. So we're going to get our human tokens removed. That is in a Pyromancer. But on deals 4. Now, one really cool trick I can do is I can actually play the Howl to give my opponent's champion the boost before I play the Subjugate. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to... Oh, didn't mean to do that. It's fine. We'll just block with these wolf tokens. I mean, I'll still play the Subjugate, actually. I was going to give the Ascendant Pyromancer +5/+5, and then play the Subjugate here to banish everything, but oh well, mistakes were made. This is beginner. I just quick played it, but we're just gonna have the 2 wolf tokens instead, so that's also fine. That just means we're playing more aggressively, whereas my play was more. Basically, what I was trying to do was force the opponent to have an empty board and me have both of this 11 offense in play. But instead, what's going to happen is I'll try and get through with my small champions that challenge this first. I could even do something like this, where either they take 7 or if they block, they only get to take 1 out. So this is a very good, I'm just padding my, oh, okay. So here what I would do actually, I mean, this plays fine. I don't think it's a very good idea generally to return 0-cost champions to hand, because what happens is I can just replay this, and I even get the 2 human tokens again. I'm probably reading it and trying to figure out whether it's better to banish their own discard pile or mine. But usually you want to banish your opponent's cards so that they don't run out of cards in their deck. If you draw a card from an empty deck, you win. Looks like they made the right choice. So we're just going to do the same thing again with both of these. Basically, what we're trying to do is say, do you want to take the damage? This is a way of sneaking in our wolf tokens. Do you want to take the damage, or do you want to lose your champion for my champion? But basically, I'm assuming that if they lose that champion, it'll be better for me, which is why I'm grouping these together. If I thought that the damage is more important, like if they were at 10, I might attack with Shock Trooper by itself first, so they're forced to trade, and then I can attack with a wolf token by itself. Yeah, that's definitely spicy. That's a perfect use of the word spicy there. Very spicy. All right. Yeah, so we'll let this raid happen. They're trying to figure out where to assign the damage. I'm going to take out my thing. And then what I can do is I can play this Breath of Life here to return a good champion from your discard pile to play. And then I'll just go ahead and swing in with it. Get my 2 human tokens, and then pass the turn. I feel a little bad. I think that this person is a new player. So what I'll probably do is I might just concede once if it's clear that we're going to win, because there are a lot of things, like I imagine this is their last event in hand, so they really wanted to play to draw 2 there. They definitely did not want to use it to bounce 2 champions. Alright, they're going to Hunting Wyvern. We're going to go ahead and probably just draw 2. I mean, I could play the Knight of the Dragon. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I could threaten. I could swing in with everything. Let's do that. It's 8, 1, 2, 3, 7. 4 plus 7 is 11, so we can't. There's pretty much no way to do. I mean, we could do lethal, right? If this gets blocked, that's 4. Plus 7 is 11. Plus 8 is plus 6 is 17. So we'll go ahead and attack with we'll attack with 1 human token, and then we can buff that if it gets through. Play it safe for the most part. If it doesn't get through, if it gets blocked, we'll just not buff it. Ooh, that's nice. Roll one there. Though they take 7, which is a lot. Alright, so what are we going to do? I guess we can get in, even if we give this +6/+6, it still dies, but it does trade. So here we're going to go ahead and attack, and it'll get blocked here, and we can give it +10 defense so it survives with the arm. So we get a 5/8 airborne for 0, basically. Got a lot of defense. Alright, we're just going to draw 2 here and pass. I'll even slam down one of these other 0-cost champions, just so that we have a very high chance of achieving lethal next turn. We definitely don't need to. But, they, especially in a format like this, they have a high chance of whiffing here. They could just draw a 0-cost card. They could draw a 1-cost champion. What they really need is a draw 2 or some kind of draw 2 with a bonus. Yeah, and just Javelin Thrower. So you'll see right now I'm going to play this, and then I have enough in play to take them out, because if this will attack in the air for 5, and then these human tokens will get through for the remaining 3. But I think that I don't mean to be in the beginner mode, and I feel kind of bad playing against players that are definitely learning the game, so I'm just going to give them the win here. And yeah, good game will be. Not going to punish him. I feel like you gotta, when you're starting out, it's nice to get the win, because especially in Epic, there's just these little details. It's very easy to just get to make mistakes in your first time when you're playing, and not even realize basic things like, oh, when I'm playing my cards, I want to make sure I have ways to draw more cards if I'm running low. And I think it's good for players to know that they're not just going to be faced up against these, I don't know, toxic opponents that want to BM them or something. Try and get something from the shop. What do they even have today? Get the stone one for the memory spirit avatar. What do I like the T-Rex though. Maybe we'll bring it back to Keeper of Secrets since we've been playing with that now. I've been liking this battle board as well. I'm hoping that we can get a constructed game here because I really have been enjoying this dinosaur deck. I think I mentioned this last time, just that Evil and Wild is probably the one that I like the most. I think what I'm going to try and do is just do a test here. Let's see if we can play Angel of Deaths here. My guess is it'll be too greedy. Like there'll be at least one time where I want to play Angel of Death or I prefer Blitz Champion. But we'll test it out. That's the only way you really know, is by experimenting. So yeah, I've actually really been liking the Endbringer Ritualists, not just because they don't require loyalty too. Yeah, it is. There's a big learning curve. And one thing that will be coming out is where there's going to be some features that'll be making it significantly easier for new players. So I'm hoping that will make it much more comfortable for people that are coming from other games. So we're not going to hold on to the Necromancer Lord here, and we're going first, so we actually don't want these Drain Essences. Frantic Taking doesn't do anything because it basically requires recycling. And we don't want to hold on to Consume because we really need a gold play for this turn and next turn. So I'm just going to mulligan my entire hand here. And it worked out perfectly. This is an amazing hand. Alright, and we'll go ahead and get the draw 2 immediately. And we're set up great here. We have Drain Essence. And if we don't want to do that, we can draw 2. Or we can Strafing Dragon. We've got great hand here. Well, one thing that we're working on is functionality that just lets you undo anything that doesn't give you more information. So when you make a play and then you're like, oh, I don't want to play that. I don't want to play that card that breaks their thing because it's a Tri-Horror and they just got 3 demon tokens. So then you just click the little back button, where I guess it's almost like a curl. And then that won't have happened. And basically, once you pass the opponent or you draw cards, then you're locked in. But aside from that, you can just keep going back, changing your mind on things that it's actually the same way it works in. And there's a couple of other just general UI improvements that'll make it easier. All right, so Fresh Begins played a Medusa revealing 2 Little Devils. That's exactly what I would do, is reveal both the Little Devils. They're going to go ahead and cut me off of my recycle here. Now, I definitely would not be playing all of my champions out before attacking. I'm not sure what they're trying to do here, but basically now they only have 1 Little Devil in hand, and they're very weak dual board clear. So like for example, now I'm worried about drawing to the final task, because if I draw 3 cards and I don't draw another red card, then I can't Angel of Death here. So I'm strongly considering just playing the Strafing Dragon to take out the Guild Demon and then blocking the Little Devil here. But it's kind of useless. It just serves to... It does save a 7 health, I suppose, so we'll be playing it as a gain 7. So sure, let's do it. One thing about this play is it will reveal my entire hand except for 1 card, but I do know there's a Little Devil there and then another card which we don't know. So unless that 1 card is something really amazing, they're going to just have emptied their entire hand here into my board wipe. And that's another thing that you kind of have to learn, is when to hold back, right? Like they definitely should not play the Little Devil here because they have a significant advantage on board, and with only 2 cards, they need to have some gas left if I do manage to get rid of all their things. There's a Little Devil again. This is what I'm talking about. So right next turn I attack for 6, play Angel of Death, and now they have 1 card in hand. They need an Ancient Chant, basically. Or I guess it may be an Erase for their own Little Devil. Yeah, they need something that draws 2, and at least. I guess they could also have some kind of crazy establishing champion. Yeah, Drain Essence. Now they're just at the whims of the fates here, right? What if they just chop deck another Guild Demon? If they pass to me, I'm definitely challenging it by drawing to the final task. I'm going to make 3 demons. The thing is, I could even clear it by final tasking in my Angel of Death, but the Pyrosaur takes care of it on its own. So we pretty much just win at this point. I'm going to play Pyrosaur, clear all those, and then also Heinous Feast them so they can't recall back their Demon Breach. So yeah, I think this is just game. It's just so devastating. Yep. The wad has in fact been blown. And see, even here, if they draw 2, they need to draw 2 and they get an answer for my Pyrosaur, or they'll take 2 again, and then they'll probably take 6. So yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm definitely challenging this. I'm definitely just drawing 2, because they probably have a 0-cost card in hand. Yep, they're going to concede. Alright, well, that was a very quick game. So I guess we'll run it back. Angel of Death there did work very well. It kind of forced them to... What did they spend on Angel of Death? I played Angel of Death and they played Drain Essence, so it ate a Drain Essence, as opposed to if I had played the 12-9. But I think in that game, there would be no difference. I definitely played the Strafing Dragon over the final task because I was playing around the fact that I had the Angel of Death in hand. So potentially I would have been in a better position if that had been a Endbringer Ritualist instead of an Angel of Death, but small sample size. And just for reference here, the Endbringer Ritualist is very similar to Angel of Death. So we have Angel of Death here, which is a 6 offense, 5 defense airborne champion with loyalty to break all other champions. So very, very powerful board wipe. You get rid of everything, and then you also get not just a champion, but the fact that it is airborne is very relevant. Airborne in Epic means that it can't be blocked by tokens, because all tokens don't have airborne. And in addition to that, 6 offense. It's not like a Misguided Herald, which is annoying. but 6, that's a 5-turn clock. So usually if you take 2 hits from Angel of Death, then you're in a very bad position because you're at 18, there's already still an Angel of Death in play, and then you also have to worry about just dying to pretty much you deal with something on their turn, and then they can play Blitz Champion plus a burn card and you're dead. So very powerful word wipe. However, the loyalty 2 means that it's greedy to play in decks that have a lot of evil. Or half evil. But the other card I'm talking about is, I can never, for some reason, it's alphabetical and I always mess it up. Embering Ritualist right here, which doesn't require loyalty, but it also breaks itself. So you can either play this as a break all champions, or you can play it as a mini Rampaging Worm, just a big Blitz champion. And I've actually had a lot of success with this card as a Punisher because people just don't play around it, so they take 12. But it's not the kind of card that you'd want if you're lacking a lot of card draw, because you could just play Apocalypse, right, instead of this card. What's very nice about this card is that it synergizes very well with our Necromancer Lord, Invoke Pact, Final Task, and Misguided Heralds, and Surprise Attack. So all those things work really well with both of these cards, which is why I'm definitely playing one of the two. Oh yeah. Just that beginner game had me going. Sometimes I play against someone and there are games where you start to realize what the opponent is doing, that where they're going wrong. I like to call those out. Yeah, we can make another deck in the meantime here. We just delete a deck. One of my 80 decks or whatever. Alright. Let's make something. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if someone else had a stream, I would absolutely watch them and comment. Or if someone had a video, I would absolutely watch and comment. Yeah, so if you want, just let me know you're in the stream. That would be very cool. So I know that I've seen how some of the other apps do that. I'm not sure. It's definitely not something that will be coming out soon for Epic. I think there's just other features which are higher up on the priority list. Let's see. I'm just looking. I'm trying to think of something that has a specialness to it. We could do something with that card that I was just looking at, and Embering Ritualist and Faithful Pegasus, because it is a human. You can give it Airborne. Some kind of humans deck that's a little silly. But I don't know. It seems almost too ridiculous to me. I'm definitely looking for something that is a little different than other things that I've done. So I've built around a lot of individual cards here. Brachiosaurus. I haven't really done that much with Brachiosaurus. I think I probably did a wolf deck. There's a couple of new wolf cards in this set. Not sure if I did though. Don't know if we've ever had a proper Skyros deck, but they look a lot like the burn deck basically. I feel like I did a kind of like a mashup of different token decks. Did a balance deck, which was pretty much all about bouncing things that are 0 cost. Nice. Yeah, it really does. Yeah. It's hard to apply things directly from something that you're watching just because a lot of the time the game's just very nuanced. So when you are thinking about which card to reveal for loyalties, for example, it's really all a case by case basis. It's all about what is my game plan, 2 turns from now. There's not really a hard and fast rule aside from I tend to show cards if I have multiple in my hand, and I tend to hide 0 cost cards. But that's, again, it's just a tendency. If I had a Flame Strike in hand and my opponent was at 8, I would definitely not reveal that, even though it's 1 cost, if I could help it. We did an unblockable stack. We did something with Citadel Scholar and Veldin, Disappearing Act, and Force Mage Apprentice. I'm not sure if we did an Army of the Apocalypse deck. I think I've talked about it before. We definitely have made various aggressive Sage decks. You know what deck I could go over is that Recycling deck. That was more of a rainbow deck that I put together, but I haven't really talked about it on the stream. So basically, the goal of the rainbow deck is I was just trying to experiment with playing a lot of cards. Basically, what I said is, you know what? I want to see. Let's take all of the cards that are heavily in the meta, and then also just play cards that let us reuse those. So basically the way this deck works. Yeah. I mean, it's not a feature that would necessarily be bad to have. Although I do think that one thing is you wouldn't want it to be available while someone was playing in a tournament. So it would have to just be for things like challenges. But I definitely think that being able to spectate during a challenge would be fine, because if you're playing in a challenge, you're playing just to have fun. You're not really trying to be sweaty about it. Just maybe you're testing something out, maybe you're trying your hardest, but it's not like there's something on the line. All right. So what this deck was. All right. So what I wanted to do here, I'm trying to think about how this started. So what I wanted to do here was I was trying to build around Chronicler right here. So Chronicler is a new card from Duels, which is an ambush champion that returns a card from your discard pile to your hand. So you can get anything with this. You can get a 0-cost event. You can get a 0-cost champion. So those are going to be what we usually get. But you can also get 1-cost cards. So sometimes it'll be relevant to return, say, a surprise attack to your hand. And what this deck is doing is we are playing no loyalty cards at all. We're just running a couple of cards that I would call recursion cards. So we have Chronicler, 3 of those, Lessons Learned, 3 of those, and then I think that might be it. Yep, and that's it. And then we're also just running a lot of the cards that I would say people play. Basically, I would just try to make mini shells and mesh them together. So, for example, Drain Essence is a card that sees a lot of play, and the reason for that is you want to be aggressive decks, so you play Drain Essence so that you can take out their Drakas and their Drakas Enforcers and Pyrosaurs and whatnot, while also gaining some health. It's very powerful for that, but it's also means that you have to splash evil, and also that if you draw it, you can't use it to draw 2, and it's not a champion, so you can't just play it really without a target. So it's a lot like Consume in that you don't want a million of these types of cards in your deck. There's a limit. It's like Recycle. There's a limit to how many Drain Essence-like cards you can add before at a certain point you just draw a handful of junk, and then you can't find new stuff if it's not working out for you. And so I said, all right, let's just continue on that theme here, and we'll add in a decent amount of life gain just for the aggressive matchups. Yeah, exactly. I could just redo this deck here because I made it a long time ago. So just go ahead and start that one over. We will call it something similar. Call it the how's the saying go? It's like reduce, reuse, recycle. So maybe it's rainbow. I don't want to call it recycling because that's kind of what we'll just call it the reusing pride deck. I like that. Let's call it that. Pride deck. All right. So basically, what we're doing here is we're playing a constructed game. All right. Like I was saying, back to my deck that I was the Dino deck right here. It's the opponent's going first, but we have a very strong start with the surprise attack into the Rage T-Rex. What I'll probably do is after this game, I'll make that deck I was just talking about, and then that'll be the end of the stream. So I'm going to surprise deck out this Raging T-Rex off turn, I'll draw 2, and then I'll have an additional 4 cards from my initial hand. So the main thing is, do I want to keep this Dark One's Apprentice or not? I need to keep the rest, so I definitely have surprise deck Raging T-Rex to start. And I think that this is a perfectly fine keep, because if they lead with a play that I can Dark One's Apprentice, I probably will. Yeah, a little bit of everything. This is why I have so many decks. All right, that's a good example of a card that I can just Dark One's Apprentice actually, so I will. It's a perfect target for it. Now, if we're forced to discard here, we have a Smash and Burn. I am going to surprise attack here, actually, because I have 2 in hand. So usually if I have 2 surprise attacks in hand, and I don't have a target for it, then I just play it, because I want to, I don't want to get stuck with them in my hand. I'm actually going to play the Strafing Dragon here, because I can go for the punish, and I can surprise attack out the Raging T-Rex off turn. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Strafing Dragon into play. Not going to show the Raging T-Rex or the surprise attack, so it'll have to be the other 2. So that my opponent doesn't know what my play is going to be, because I'm going to surprise deck out this Raging T-Rex and then reveal these 2 anyway, so my opponent will get to the chance to play around it. And I'm going to deal 5 to them. You just leave the zombie token there as a wolf bite target. Hit them for 11 here. Punish them for spending their gold first on our turn. Yeah, we'll have a little of everything. Rainbow decks are interesting. You still have to have some kind of strategy. Like that deck that I made is not very fast. It's just grindy. That's what we're trying to do, is grind the opponent out. Alright, so we just got in for 11 here. And our opponent has to deal with the Strafing Dragon. But we don't have that much in play. That's the beauty of Strafing Dragon, is that you get so much damage, but it's really not enough to warrant getting rid of it, like clearing the board, for example. We go ahead and play this and reveal the same 2 that we revealed earlier. Might as well. And we have this Rage here, which is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and Wolf Spite away 2 of those champions, because I get the value right now. We have some things that use champions in our discard pile, so I'll get rid of the surprise attacks first. We're just drawing every single surprise attack. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and leave the Strafing Dragon, because there's a decent chance that we draw something like Final Task, and then we can use it aggressively. So now we're going to attack with our 2/2s first, see what the opponent does. So let's do Zombie first, in case they want to Wither. They can't Wither this Zombie token without killing their own. I suppose that actually may have been a reason to... I guess it doesn't really matter that much. Now I'm kind of expecting this to be answered here, but that's fine. What I'm going to do is Rage it after blocks. and then if it gets removed, we can final task it and draw 2 cards again. Yeah, you'll definitely need. You need an archetype basically. You need something. You need a game plan, but it just means your cards will be less powerful individually, since cards like Raging T-Rex that have loyalty 2 tend to be stronger than a card that don't. So it'll be more synergy based. They're taking a while to think, which makes me think they don't have an answer, or they have a Medusa. And they're trying to figure out which 2 cards to reveal. Maybe they have some kind of thinking about drawing 2 right now to find an answer. It's clear they are doing that. It's going to be hard to find an answer here since they basically need. So we're just going to go ahead and smash and burn this. Go for the punish again here. If they didn't have an answer before, they don't have one now. Yep. Yeah, that was ridiculous. And then next, if they play a nothing here, we can frantic digging our way to find a second green, and then final task Strafing Dragon for the win. So if our opponent doesn't gain any health, or looks like they're going to drain essence though. Yep. Maybe also consume or wither or something. Flashfire. Alright, good answer. We don't need both Heinous Feasts really. So I'm just going to toss one with the Frantic Digging. I want to find like a real play to make basically. So we'll toss the Heinous Feast. We'll toss this Wolfspite, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Perfect. We can surprise attack out that Misguide Herald there. Now we can't Wild Loyalty 2, which is very relevant here. Alright, but we can Necromancer Lord. Man, this is going to be ridiculous. Alright, let's just go ahead and reveal, I guess, Drain Essence final task. And we don't want to get back. Oh, we'll get their Street Swindler to draw 2 cards. Perfect. Alright. Now on to our turn. This is kind of what this deck does. I was just talking about it. We're basically just slamming huge things every turn. We don't really have burn in the classical sense. We have what, Firesaur basically, and Strafing Dragon. I still don't have Wild Loyalty, so it's still inconsistent. That's kind of like the whole thing that's going on with this deck. Just go ahead and bring back. Yeah, alright, they're just going to concede. I was considering killing off one of these just to reanimate it. But, alright. And that'll be the game there. Let's go ahead and make that rainbow deck here. That one is Dead Dinos. I'll go ahead and add that one in. It does feel pretty finished at this point. Like I said, I really enjoy. It might be the same as Threat Heavy Evil. May have just changed the name to Dead Dinos. I guess we'll find out. Assigned in. All right. Dead Dinos. All right. Just go ahead and make that red as well, even though it's more of a, it's really a mix. It's really not just evil, but it does have more evil in it than it does wild. Dead Dinos. It's called Dead Dinos because we have the Raging T-Rex and Pyrosaur, and the original iteration of this deck also had Brachiosaurus in it, but I ended up cutting the Brachiosaurus to make more room for the final tasks and invoke packs, so that we could actually really make it all about the dead and less about the dinos. But Raging T-Rex and Pyrosaur are still great to reanimate, and that's really the play. So we're just saying, all right, we have these awesome champions. not that many of them. We have basically this board wipe. We have Pyrosaur Kong, Raging T-Rex, Strafing Dragon, and we're just gonna play those from after they die, over and over again, until our opponent wants to concede. But surprise stacking out a Necromancer Lord, gotta tell you, that's just such a strong play. It's very hard to come back from if you're already behind. Just that nail in the coffin there. All right. I don't think it actually saved, so we'll just do it right here. Pride deck. Okay, so let's see what we got. All right, good seeing you, Pix. I might just save this for the next time then because, well, I'll do it. I'll do it right now. We're going to go ahead and toss in the main card that we want to use here. What we're trying to do with this deck is we're actually going to have a lot of situational answers. So think of cards like Spike Trap. Spike Trap is a card that, when it's good, it's amazing, but sometimes it doesn't do that much. And we're going to capitalize on the fact that we can hold on to our situational answers until they're needed. We have different ones for different situations. So for example, we're probably going to want Amnesia in this deck because we want to have a way to interact with the discard pile, and Amnesia is such an effective way of doing that. Handles any type of deck they're up against, and if they have single things in the discard pile that matter, if they have they're filling up their entire yards, they can Zombie Apocalypse or Army of the Apocalypse. We definitely want to play some kind of discard pile banishment. And in this deck, we're also going to run Muse because sometimes Muse can be absolutely backbreaking. So that's why we're playing Muse here. Now, whether or not we play Spike Trap remains to be seen. That'll be mostly dependent on how many Sage 1-cost cards we have. For the same reason, we're going to run Thought Plucker. Again, this deck is all about cards that are very strong in specific situations. So we're going to run Thought Plucker. If your opponent makes a play that doesn't really threaten you and you run out of Thought Plucker and they don't have an answer, then you can just run away with the game with that. So very good in that situation. We're also going to go ahead and play Ancient Chant here. This card is going to be a little less automatically useful, but it does mean that we can run more cards that are, let's just say, less options, like the Drain Essence. You can always recall this for your gold if you need to. So for the same reason, we're going to go ahead and run Lessons Learned in this deck because we're going to have a lot of specific answers that we want to reuse, like Drain Essence, and I'll play Chronicler. So this will be our recursion suite right here. We have Chronicler and Lessons Learned right now. All right, and if we have enough champions, we'll come back and probably put in the Misguided Heralds, but it's unclear whether we'll do that right now. This is a good core for our deck as far as Sage goes, so let's swap over. I think we definitely want Surprise Attack. I mean, this card's pretty free in the right situation, so our deck's going to all be about getting a large enough hand size that you can maximize the value of plays like this. And then we need another 1-cost card at least, so it's probably going to be the Kong here, although we could also play a burn card like Flame Strike. I think what I like about the Kong is it is also a very good surprise attack target. And it's very good against wild decks because they frequently just have no answer to it. So we're going to go ahead and play that there, and we'll run probably Wolfspite as our 0-cost card because it's so efficient at what it does. It takes out a small champion and then it makes a wolf and you get to recycle. So this is probably one of the most efficient ways to deal with it in terms of card advantage. So if you wanted the most efficient way to deal with multiple small champions, that would be Flashfire or Wither. If you wanted the most aggressive instead of the most tempo oriented, you'd probably be looking at something like Force Mage Apprentice or Fire Shaman, because they take out a small champion and then they leave behind something which continues to apply pressure, but you don't forget to draw a card to replace it. Alright, and then something like the most versatile would be something like Consume or Wither, where pretty much like whenever you consume, it's not going to be bad, but it's not going to be amazing, right? You're never going to consume and say, wow, I just won the game off that consume. But it's a small victory, and that little 3 health can add up with other ways to gain health. Alright, so let's go ahead and swap over to our other colors here. So for evil, we definitely wanted to run Drain Essence, that we talked about that. We're going to want to have off-turn board clear here, at least once. So I think the best off-turn board clears, I mean, there really aren't that many. We have Martial Law is an option, which banishes all champions, and then your opponent gets 5 humans. We have Zombie Apocalypse, which breaks all champions, and then each player gets a zombie for each champion in their discard pile. This one's very nice because it gives you chump blocker, so this will probably be the one that we play. There's also Wave Transformation, which turns everything into a wolf token. So it gets rid of absolutely anything, even if it's unbanishable, even if it's unbreakable. But I think we're going to go with the Zombie Apocalypse because it has the highest potential to be extremely powerful. The ceiling on Zombie Apocalypse is the highest of all of these options. You could play Zombie Apocalypse, and then you get more zombies than they do because you have more champions in your discard pile, and we're running Amnesias. Also, if you play, keep in mind that none of these are necessarily better than the others. So Wave Transformation is very good in decks that happen to have things in play all the time because they just get to upgrade all of their human tokens or whatever into wolf tokens. And the banishing from play is very relevant against decks like the Soul Hunter one. And Martial Law has no real downside if you play it on your own turn. It just gives them the human tokens if you play it on their turn. So, but you can't use Martial Law to draw 2. Alright. And that was a lot of talking. But we're going to go ahead and add in some 0-cost cards here. So you definitely want to have some 0-cost cards for those 6 1-cost evil cards, which will probably be... It probably will be either discard pile banishment or more things like consume. I think it's probably going to be consume or wither here. Basically, we want to stymie the really aggressive decks. We want to have a reasonable matchup against any deck. That's what we're trying to do here. This is going to be a well-rounded deck, but you're not going to have anything to rely on. You're not just going to drop a T-Rex on turn 1, drop a T-Rex on turn 2, and then, quadruple flame strike them to death or something ridiculous like that. You're going to have to rely on figuring out which cards in your hand are good for the matchup, and then playing around, what game plan you have based on what cards you have. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the consumes in for now, and we'll come back to evil. Let's go over to good here. I think Urgent Messengers is a very strong card in these types of decks. And the reason is you get to draw 2, and then you get 2 blockers. So you can usually block gigantic champions with this. You can play this on turn if you need to. It's very good for that purpose. And another card that we can pick up from good here, we're probably also going to play Avenging Angel just so that we have a Punisher. It's always good to have Punishers if your deck has things like Thought Plucker in them, because sometimes you'll drop your, you'll swing with your Thought Plucker here and they'll spend the gold to get rid of it, and then because you are playing a very slow deck, you just have nothing to follow it up. And again, this card's very good against wild decks if they have their gold down. That card can carry you to victory. Alright, so from here, probably could just run some more good cards. So I was running Absolve in that previous version of this deck because basically it gains you health and draws you cards, so it helps stabilize you. But we don't really need to go good heavy. We could just stop here and run some second winds as our last stabilizing play. If I can find them. Alright, now you don't have that many champions, so I don't think we want to run something like Final Task or that other one that I always forget the name of. Instead, what we're going to do is just run things that need to be dealt with. So we'll go ahead and put Gudgeons in. Now that gives us a lot of card draw, so now we're going to focus on cards that they're not really about card advantage, but they're about just establishing board control. So it's going to be things like Sea Titan. We could totally play Sea Titan in this deck. We could play... Google run Sea Titan. It might be Sea Titan and we don't have that many champions, so I think we could also run Soulstorm here and just rely on the fact that we'll probably have one out. So we'll go ahead and run Sea Titan and Soulstorm, and this will make this deck pretty slow, but that's fine. And then we've already picked up some more evils, so I guess we'll do the Sage Zeros first and come back to that. So I was talking about Spike Trap. I think Spike Trap's a good choice in this deck, just because, and so is Force Mage Apprentice, because both of those cards have the potential to be very strong. Go ahead and play Spike Trap here. It also works well with Consume, and you can play it to recycle if you need to. I think we might even do a split here. We'll do 2 Spike Traps and 1 Haste Retreat. Force Mage Apprentice is also very viable here, as is probably Arcane Research, because we just have a lot of different types of cards. Alright, and then we're going back over to our evil cards here. So we just put in one more evil 1-cost card, so it'll probably be another way to clear the board. And I think that what we want to do is run Plague here. Yeah, we could also run Darkman's Apprentice. Let's go ahead and run Plague. Alright, and then what we have is a pretty slow deck that relies mostly on just getting board control. So this is more of a control deck, really. But so this type of deck will probably struggle against something like Kark. But as far as everything else goes, you should have a very good matchup in terms of you can just play towards your outs. I think one thing that we need to do is figure out a way to make this deck more aggressive. So we probably need another, not necessarily a Punisher, but something like Juggernaut that can just exist, and you can play it and you can use it as a aggressive play against decks like the Kark ones. But for now, we'll leave it as it is, and I'll put in 2 more 0-cost cards here, which will probably be Guilt Demons, so I have more ways to interact with the discard pile, or maybe 1 Corpse Taker, which interacts pretty well with our Sea Titan, and 1 Guilt Demon, or even a Wither for token decks. I like the Guilt Demon though. Alright, we'll experiment with this. So that's going to be the end of the stream, and I'll be back on Friday for the next one. In the meantime, take it easy, have some good games, and I'll see you next time.